Northwest Liberty News, picking the lock on the shackles of tyranny.
Howdy once again. I am Ernie of the family of Tertelkta, and I have a purpose for what I'm doing here today, and it's not to look pretty for this camera. I'm here to educate you and to empower you to the maximum in a peaceful way. I'm going to identify for you what the plug is that we all talk about, pulling the plug, what it is, and how you can identify it, and how you so simply can pull the plug on the system that we view as a rogue beast. On the table, some documents are laid out here. I'm going to briefly walk you through them. I intend to be very short about this, just going to take you right to the point of it. I deal with history and primarily the Latin language. It is the governing body of sounds and symbol that is the foundation for the English language of today. This information that the camera is now showing you is some of the most powerful information you could ever know in your entire lifetime. It is with what is on these two large pages that you can become the proper trustee, as you always needed to be empowered to become, of your own lives. A true anarchist is a non-violent person, brings harm to nobody, but is a true governor of their own selves. However, if you don't have the proper information as a governor, how are you going to govern? You won't be able to, and that's exactly how the system of corporate United States works. It has caused all of us to be improper governors of our lives by depriving us of information and by manipulating information that we could well have used long ago. However, the time is now, and we must seize the right to own ourselves, our families, our nations, own our own names, and the time is right now. Never in my life have I seen such a time in our country when there's so much chaos and discord, so much suspicion, so much fear, and none of that needs to exist. We the people are the living power. We are the heartbeat of our country. It is up to us what happens in our country. It's not up to a corporation called the United States. It is up to we the people. That being said, you the people have to comprehend this capitis diminutio work here. Quite simply put, capitis diminutio maxima, think word maximum. This definition, which I'm going to let you on the other end of the camera do the reading, means you have been reduced to a slave of Rome. That is a simple slave name. It's also identified as a corporate trust, as a slave to a bigger corporation called the United States. Number two is capitis diminutio media, means middle ground. You have been lightly reduced in your family standing, which then results in an effect of your social standing. And as I go through these, I challenge you to ask yourself, wait a minute, when did I ever, with knowledge abounding, agree to be any of these three claims? Now, capitis diminutio minima means the minimum amount of reduction to the power of your name. All lowercase letters. And don't forget to throw the semicolon in after your first name, because your first name is your official Christian name, your God-given name. In the German language we call it Praenomen. It's your first name, but your last name is the house that you're of. It's your filial lineage. Okay, so you keep your name in all lower estates, separate Praenomen, your first name from filial name with a semicolon. I am Ernie of the Old Oaks is what my last name means. Now you'll see in this other one right next door here, I went ahead and I utilized my name for the samples. You see here, Ernie Wayne Tertelkta. That is the name of the corporate slave. Now, the system is at war with me. I'm not at war with it. I'm just holding a good and honorable line. There is work coming out of Gallatin County, Montana, that is the work of the state of Montana, which is a corporation. It is not my state. It is a giant corporation, simply nothing more than a giant Walmart. As a giant corporation, it is making corporate laws that are identified as code and statute. These are not actual laws, these are corporate claims. They're for slaves. You see the spelling? See the size of the spelling in the window. Now in my world, this envelope represents a coffin, and the window is like the upper half of the coffin being opened for a viewing of the deceased. Again, I pointed out to you, it's in all capital letters because the system is engineered to only be able to address, initially, slaves. All right? I never agreed to be a slave, and I'll bet you didn't either. I never agreed to have my name or my family standing reduced a little bit, and I'll bet you didn't either, so neither one of us are capitis maxima nor capitis minimus or medias. We are capites minimus. We are the true and living power. I'm not a god, and you're probably not a god either. However, we are the true power because we are the inheritors of the earth, seeing as how the entire world of science reveals to us we are made of the elements of earth. Dirt, water, air flows through the blood within our veins. We are of it. Now, I am not the trustee of this trust, nor am I its executor, nor am I a beneficiary of it because I choose to live outside of corporate claims. I do not recognize code and statute. I recognize common sense and honor. I bring harm to none, and I work diligently at safety and good behavior. All right. This being said, I have already, in Gallatin County, in the past 2.5 years, I have driven this point across, even to the point of a jury trial, which was 6.5 hours long. I spoke this stuff for about the same amount of time I'm going to speak to you. It was 18 minutes. The film channel 7 KBZK filmed the entire thing, and the station manager in Bozeman, Montana, whose name is John Schurer, is holding that filmed footage hostage. I would like for you to apply pressure on him along with me, because the information that is on their film that they're holding hostage under corporate code and statute is phenomenal for the liberation of the peoples. All right, so I am now going to intentionally open this envelope, and we're going to have a look in here. I can see the versus at the end of my pocket knife blade here that tells me whatever the intent is that will be revealed when we open this envelope. The state of Montana has already announced its intention to go to war against a Roman slave. This is not Rome, and I'm not a slave. Nowhere is there a contract where I agreed to it. And if any contract should be brought forward, then I would certify to you that full disclosure did not exist within the other side of the ones who offered the contract to me, and it was probably done when I was but a boy, and that contract is probably going to look like Citizenship Day. Okay, so we're going to have a look. I've held this letter back for this purpose, okay, so that we can work through this today ourselves just briefly. All right, here we have a notice of imminent driver's license suspension, but what are we talking about? We're talking about a trust slave. Now notice the all caps spelling, state of Montana. This is a slave telling a slave that this slave is going to eliminate the driver's license of this slave. But I'm not a slave, and this is not Rome, right? This is America, right? And we don't believe in slaves, right? We don't have slaves in America, right? Ain't that the goal? All right. So, the claim is made here, and ultimately it will become, you see, oh, looky there. Here we go with the semantic treachery. Before Rick West, look at the spelling. What do you see? Capital R, capital W. He is addressing himself to this slave on behalf of that slave as not being reduced as much in his standing as these two are. Do I hear a private contract between This one who's claiming Capote's medius standing, which means he's been somewhat reduced in family, therefore somewhat reduced in social standing and capabilities, as taking a contract to work for a slave in pursuit of a slave, of which I'm not. Okay. Now there will be a list of citations. Now I want you to behold. Alright, this will be the case number. I would advise you follow along. Gallatin County Law and Justice Center, Justice Court, Rick West. Here's the address, telephone number, very nice. Everything we need to know. And you'll note the usage of Capote's medius at almost every announcement of intention as to who is claiming what they are. Here we have an offense listed based on a citation, Saturday, August 31st, 2013, which arrest video is about to be found under the Mental Militia website, Elias Alias, for the offense of hunting, fishing, or trapping without a license, or sell, purchase, or shipping without a valid license. Do you see the size of the letters? Well, it's all slave letters. Look at here. Here's the next citation. Contempt of court. This particular man who's got a contract to this slave in pursuit of that slave arrested me wrongly, not the slave, put me in jail for 30 days, put a fine of $500 on that one, and I had to sign it as a prisoner of war in order to obtain my freedom. He is now at war against me on behalf of this slave because I, the living man, did not complete the contract for my freedom as a prisoner of war, which I have made them take me in court as a POW. It is on the record with Arthur J. Baer as related to these very activities right here. As a prisoner of war, on the record, I am no longer able to be held answerable or punishable for anything I have to say, do, or sign. I'm a POW. This is on the record. They will tell you a court of no record means no record. Don't you bet on it. The records are in there. After I got done with all this, they put a sign up in such a particular center that said access to public files post 1993 is now flatly denied to the people. Why would that be? That's called fear. Citation number 3 for the offense of contempt. Look at that. All capital letters. Citation number 4. Look at that. For what offense? Contempt. They're making up now contempt citations. November 13, 2013. November 13. November 13. 3 contempts of court on the same day under the same code. That is not a law. It's for a corporation. And now comes the threat. The one who says he's not so much reduced is going to threaten the slave that I am not with, if I do not appear to address this notice, his court will notify the Department of Justice and your driver's license will be suspended and or a warrant may be issued. To avoid this consequence, you must act on or before July 16, 2015. Now, I have no idea prior to you see me open this envelope on here of what their dates was going to be. It does not matter to me. I'm not a Roman slave. This is very, very clear. Never forget Capote's maximum diminutio. Maximum reduction, complete Roman slave. Okay. A claim is made that there is a payment of an outstanding fine of $420. Remember, as a POW, I cannot be held liable for anything that is laid upon me. I'm forced into the doing of it for the obtainance of my freedom. Once your driver's license is suspended, you will not be eligible for a probationary driver's license, work permit, or any driving privilege during such suspension. Now, January of 2015, I created an 11-page document titled Civiliter Mortuus, in which my first move was to chop up to pieces the unlawful Montana state driver's license, state of Montana. I sent it back to Department of Transportation with the complete and entire knowledge in absolute noticed form, as well as to this one who's claiming he ain't so much reduced as the rest of us are. Okay, which that's not us. Anyway, and I put it to them to where there is no denying that I am not good with a program in which civilian rights, civiliter, are deceased. Mortuus. Civiliter, mortuus means dead civilian, and a dead civilian has no more need of civil rights or civil benefits. Okay? I also sent it to this man. He got it. Told me face to face a couple months later in April that it was magnificently written, and he said, I'm going to have to go after you anyway as soon as I can find deputies who will arrest you, because at that point in time in April there were no deputies in Gallatin County willing to arrest me. Always let your eyes first go to the spelling of the name of the person making the claim, and then the title of office they claim to represent. So what I've got them in right now as a result of this date here is that they are now at war against the slave. They're going to suspend the driver's license that I already chopped up and sent back. That didn't have anything to do with me, because I'm not a Roman slave and I'm not engaged in the act of commerce. I do not travel interstate for the purposes of commercial profit, gain, or deliverance. Conclusion. Mandatory minimum jail sentence is 2 days. So they propose to arrest the wrong guy on behalf of the slave, jail me for him, when I've already concluded this through jury trial that I am not him, and yet this mindless justice of the peace is hell-bent in his pursuit of the wrong quarry. I warned him not to do this in April. Additionally, conviction on this charge permits imprisonment for a minimum of 2 days, a maximum of 6 months, and a fine of up to $500. Well, that's great. When he gets his slave, the slave can do all that, but I'm not the slave, and I'll bet you aren't either. This is how you separate yourself away from the trust. You did not create the trust. You were issued forward from your mother's womb. They created the trust based on the birth certificate, and like an evil paper clone, it arose as did you, and it has followed you and shadowed you all of your life. Everything you did, it participated in. Everything you tried to accomplish, it governed it. Everything you thought you were benefiting or receiving went into that. The taxes, the fines, the fees, everything that you're experiencing that brings you irritation or worse, they are laying on the slave trust and holding you guilty for it. You must separate yourself from the slave trust and serve notice upon them. This is how you begin to take true governance of yourself, and when you take that true governance, you will then begin to establish maturity through competency. I brought down more papers here, and we've got time today. My point is, I back what I have to say to the nines. I do not voice my opinion unless I tell you it's my opinion right up front. This is not my opinion. These are researched quotes. This is the beginning of the glossary of legal terms of control/power. I have alluded to it in an earlier flick where I said this was the work of a guy at TalkShoe.org. That would be Franco Collins. Go to TalkShoe.org. These can be got off of the website, okay, there. This is going to take you into the Latin. This one is full of my handwritten research. I put 80 hours of dogged research tracking these things. I've tracked it all the way back to the 8th century. Okay, some of the claims. I broke it all apart, century by century, page by page by page. I put it in logical formation as opposed to the alphabetical formation that it has here. I laid it out per century, and then I made an analysis of what is the most important or powerful claim that they made century by century by century. And one claim that always comes forward is this: believe what we tell you. Don't ask questions, just believe us. We know what's best for you. Well, they know what's best for themselves, and what's best for them is to have you not know what the heck it is they're doing behind your back. So, in conclusion, I want to say a mighty thank you to the filmographer here, Mr. White, for being kind and allowing me to get this to you, the people. Clearly, Rick West intends to commit acts of warfare on the wrong guy. Even though I've warned him, this is the 4th time I have warned Rick West he is in pursuit of the wrong quarry. How long must I be patient? How long must I forgive when he continually threatens my well-being with wrong-headed thinking and activity? This all being said, you have viewed the evidence. I am going to make an allegation on this camera against the state of Montana, and I'm going to use Rick West for my doorway. The state of Montana is guilty of human trafficking. The corporation that designs these trusts is guilty of human trafficking. The Capites Maxima Diminutio is the evidence of slave trust and enslavement. Did we not fight a civil war against slavery? Fraudulent enslavement? Why then are we dealing with fraudulent slavery on a daily basis, and it governs every faction and portion of our life? I can evidence that the state of Montana, the giant corporation, has committed 1 million human trafficking violations by the utilization of the Capites Maxima Diminutio. Now, how are we going to enforce the charges? I have tons more for evidence. There's my allegation. Now how about your state? How many citizens? Each citizen, one slave. One citizen, one slave. How many citizens are in your states that they have made slaves of through these corporate trusts, and then laid code and statute on the corporate slave and said that's law and charged you with upholding what they put on the slave, while addressing their own selves as simply another slave? Ask yourself that question. Are you sick of being a slave? I have shown you here today the plug. We talk about unplugging the beast, unplugging from the system. The plug lays in the size of the spelling and the knowledge behind it. Grasp the knowledge of the plug, and ever so peacefully, no violence whatsoever, unplug the beast by depowering it with simple and pure knowledge based on the Latin language. I hope I've been of service to you, the people, today, and I pray to God you'll have what it takes to pick this information up and move forward. Remember that most who will arise against you have no knowledge of these kind of things. They simply believe that they're doing what they need to do in life. There will be those who have absolute knowledge. You'll find them amongst the bar. Remember to harm none, and remember to always hold the line. I thank you very much. My hats off to the American people. Good day.